We don't have time. Good afternoon. This is What Matters Gulf Coast. And we're back again with our favorite councilman who keeps us up to date on what is happening with the city of Mobile. Now, since we're nearing the end of this year, we are going to ask him if he would go back and kind of give us an update on the things that have been accomplished with the city for 2022, and what do we need to be looking forward to? What kinds of changes, what kinds of plans, what's on the table for 2023? So I do not need to introduce this person. He usually appears on the program every other month. But we do have Councilman William Carroll. And Councilman Carroll, we welcome you.
And thank you. And it's great afternoon and good afternoon to everyone in District 2 and also in the city of Mobile. And thank you, Violetta, for inviting me here today to talk a little bit about what's happened in the city and possibly what's happening now and our future look ahead for the city of Mobile and what may happen in the near future. So again, it's a great pleasure to be here and look forward to a insightful conversation.
Great. Well, we're going to get started. I am going to mention a few things, and then you can kind of tell us where we are as far as the city is concerned. And then, of course, anything that you may want to add to the discussion, please feel free.
Oh, gratefully, yes.
First off the bat, I have to ask you about what's going on with, I saw something recently about the Civic Center and whether or not something's been finalized.
Well, I mean, we've made great progress with the Civic Center. We've made some amendments to the DDD and using form-based coding and using transact districts to lay out an area in the 22 acres of vacant, or I should say parking space at the Civic Center. On the Lawrence Street side, we have what's T3, which is residential housing, allowed up to 3 stories. And then right behind that, we have T5.2, which is allows up to 16 stories of height building. Also allows restaurants, buildings, also additional housing. And over on the Claiborne Street side, it allows for the Corps of Engineers building, a parking garage that has 1,000 spaces, and a future hotel. Now, that's not to say that a future additional hotels couldn't be built also on the property. Now, what we've also done is we've approved a master plan, or back of the napkin master plan, which is simply taking the populist proposal that was given to us and and adding it to the amendments. So what we've done is allowed the city to be able to move forward with that plan, which is basically about $168 million, and also with another $25 million for the parking garage for the Corps of Engineers building, and the Corps to actually move forward with their process of building their new building on the site too. So we made great strides. So we have a instrument in place that governs both the renovation of the Civic Center, but it also gives guidelines as to the redevelopment of the 20 acres that encompass the parking lot behind the Civic Center now. That's next door to Down the Bay, as we call, on the south side of Canal Street and adjacent to Church Street East, which is on the east side of Lawrence Street, west side of Lawrence Street, excuse me. So we've done quite a bit there.
Okay. And the parking lot alone is 22 acres.
Well, the parking lot is 22 acres of developable property out there. So the parking lot, along with a few other places, total 22 acres. Now the core is taking, I think, about 3.2 acres of that space with their new six-story building, which now is going to adhere to the form-based code and look more like a somewhat of a his type of building now, more so than it did originally. And our parking garage is going to be behind that building. So it'll take up a little bit of space too. So we still have quite a bit out there to do.
Who will own the parking garage?
The city of Mobile will own the
Oh,
parking garage,
city
right?
of Mobile.
And that's been a misconception too. A lot of people actually think that the Corps of Engineers is providing the parking deck, but it's actually the city of Mobile that's on the hook for that $25 million.
Okay. I served on one of those committees. They were asking for people from the different communities that were going to be impacted by it. And one of the things we were concerned about was whether or not there would be enough parking space for the Mardi Gras ball.
The new parking deck, I would say yes. But you have to remember with our current coding system and system in place downtown, there's no precedence or prevalence for parking. So parking downtown and especially around that area is commonly a hard issue, especially with major events. People tend to park within the neighborhoods and then a few streets over and walk.
Yeah.
So I think we'll continue to see some of this now, but with new developments, I'm hoping that the developer will mandate what's needed for their facility or their restaurant or their hotel and add additional parking so it'll accommodate some of the additional parking that comes along with new structures.
Any possibility of the city looking at, some additional parking or some ease with that parking situation downtown?
Well, even right now with the growth on Dolphin Street, we've reached out, especially on the higher end of Dolphin Street.
Yeah.
There are some parking decks and garages on the higher end of Dolphin Street that are not used at night. Like take for example, the Social Security building has a 3 or 4 deck parking garage.
Yeah.
Where we're blocked in all up and down Dolphin Street and the surrounding communities at night. But if we could work out a deal to have some type of partnership, then we could use that deck too.
Yeah.
And there are other facilities all over downtown that don't have people parking in them at night where we can use those during higher entertainment times. So I'm hoping that we find a way to make these and meet these synergies between the hotels and the other businesses downtown to create additional parking, especially with the growth of our entertainment district. Now, as our civic center grows too, on a good night, on a nice walking night, that will also help us.
Yeah.
But on a rainy night, that's going to be kind of difficult to do. So we'll still be looking at some of the things past, and as ladies in the South, I don't think they like to walk very far in heels, to an event at the Civic Center, the theater. So we have still some thinking to do as we go forward with additional parking.
Okay. What about another thing that we were concerned about on that committee was the theater as well as the sports arena.
Well, I think, and I've said this 100 times, is that the expo hall is extremely special. It's a 40,000 square foot building that houses, right now we have our green screen up there, but there's no other space in the city of Mobile that's like it. So why tear it down? It's usable, it's structurally sound. It may have a few mechanical issues with the air conditioner, some lighting. If we can't do it now, then let's find a way to secure it and safety it off and do it in the future. But in my mind, it's a usable space that we're gonna need. We use it for our hurricane disaster relief area and the setup for the people coming in for services. So it's usable.
Yeah.
Now the theater, if we go with the second option, then the theater will still be part of the auditorium. It'll be renovated with the auditorium. So that's that total of $168 million. So yeah, and then that proposal included the tear down of Expo. But in my mind, and I think in some other people's mind too, Expo Hall still has a service to the city and it's still viable. And we may be looking for a way to, if not renovate it, to help maintain it as a revenue generating opportunity or a usable space.
Because it's being used now, right?
Yes, it is used now. It's programmed.
Yeah.
Now, how much of that program that it's year round, I don't know, but it is program and it's usable space right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I
Yeah.
think that takes care of it as far as the Civic Center, unless you have you want to add to it.
Oh no, I'm just happy to see it go, or happy to see the plan approved.
Yeah.
What concerns me though is that we're looking at an expenditure of $200 million, and at the state of the economy, do we really want to spend $200 million right now? That's something we have to think about as a city and in a community. The parking deck and garage, it's a $25 million expenditure, which has some help coming from leases from the Corps of Engineers when it's up to do debt service, but we have nothing right now that says we have any way to do debt service on the remaining $168 million, which is the Civic Center. Now, to everyone that's listening, I hate to go through a process where we spend all of this money, and I think we spent about $200,000 to come up with a plan and not move forward because we've planned this space several times over and over again, and we still haven't moved forward. So I'm hoping this time we'll way to move forward and make good on what we've done to say this is what we need to do to make this area better.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds exciting
Yeah.
that we can do something because, the Civic Center is kind of the heart of downtown Mobile. And it's especially valuable for large event items. When you start talking about the Mardi Gras balls, like some of the guys that were on that committee was saying that they have six, nine, 10,000 at their balls.
Right.
So we don't have another facility that's large enough.
Well, no, not that large with that will maintain the acoustic value that they've always enjoyed.
Yes.
The arena I think sits a little bit less than 10,000, but under the renovation it'll be somewhere around 6,500. But for the balls and everything else, they're still able to maintain what they've done, for the past 40 years doing balls at the Civic Center. So it'll be a plus for the Mardi Gras Association. It'll be great for them. It'll be great for incoming new cultural events like concerts. I think that
Yeah.
the concert ticket range for small concerts right now is about 6,500 to 7,000 seats is a sweet area for some of these concerts that travel in the country. So I hope that we get there. And the other thing is that they no longer take the dome approach. So redoing the dome, where the stages on one side and the seats are on another, also help us as far as attracting that type of entertainment into our city. So that'll help.
Great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Uh, Talk to us a little bit about the challenge weekend. That was a very exciting weekend for City of Mobile, and there were lots of activities. So tell us a little bit about it. I know it's after the fact,
Well,
but
an amazing weekend for the city of Mobile. I'm going to project that the economic impact from that game for a 4 day involvement with our city was probably somewhere around $10 million for this game. And that's that. We're talking about a game in the city of Mobile that is now 5 years old or 6 years old. That's doing that type of economic impact and providing that type of revenue generation for our city. I think that's great.
yeah,
And to see now that to see and hear that we may have had a little bit of opportunity based conversation on that, then we have more to think about. And when I say opportunity based conversation, our stadium, we know we have some challenges,
yes,
but to
yeah,
say that your lights were out and they were only out for 2 minutes because a breaker was flicked because somebody stuck an outlet in the wrong plug, to me that's a little pushy. And then to turn around and know that your water was hot and you did something to the fuse, that's a little pushy too. And it was unfortunate that ESPN came in and took up every spot in the media booth. We actually had to use the radio towers that like people did in the old days when they were in the radio tower, but were completely enclosed from the outside weather. It just so happens is at the top of a tower where a radio tower is supposed to be.
yeah,
So it's unfortunate that sometimes those things happen. People have their own perception. But Mobile did one heck of a job on that classic, and the promoters and the people that put it together, Tim Hell and Kevin ball and their team. They all need to be applauded for that. And in the future, and I'm going to say it right here, in the future, I look for in the year 23 not to have one game, but two games at Last Stadiums that are HBCU games. I expect to see Jackson State back, hopefully, with Alabama and A&M, and I look forward to having Alabama State play Grambling here this coming year. So one game will be in September, the other in November.
Okay, great. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, continued growth, and continued revenue generating opportunities for Ladd Stadiums, which means that Ladd has some viability. It still has viability,
Yeah.
and it's still worthy of our citizens here in the city of Mobile.
And I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the community, especially the surrounding community, really did not want to see it go.
And that's right. The surrounding community, matter of fact, a few of them call it the old Iron Lady, and they have a nickname for it. So,
Okay.
when it's that intimate to the community, they would like to see it stay. But I think the community also has a little bit of a few revenue opportunities from the stadium, especially when the parking lots
Yeah.
are full.
Yeah.
This past game had some parking challenges, being that it was so many people there.
Yeah.
We had 35,000 people, or 32,000 people in the stand, and I'm sure it was another 8,000 in the parking lot. So where did all those people park in the surrounding community? So I'm pretty sure there were some opportunities there.
Yeah.
But we've got to come up with a few more parking plans, I think, in the future too, especially getting to the stadium.
Yeah.
It probably took us an hour to get to the stadium when we got off of Michigan Avenue.
Uh-huh.
And I think going forward we'll have a few changes that accommodate those things.
Yes, that's great. Now, if in thinking in terms of next year with the challenge weekend, are you looking at possibly, and I know it may be more the promoters doing this, but will they be looking at that full weekend? This past time, this year, we had a full weekend of activities.
Mhm. Well, you can't go backwards, and
Okay.
I've talked to the promoters and Tim and Kevin and a few of their team. I don't see them going backwards. It was such a grand weekend,
Right.
and they've made this weekend grow every year with additional free concerts in the parks, with
Yeah.
with a parade on game day, with the
Yeah.
second line the the day before. So they've done such a great job with promoting this and making it a multicultural event.
Yeah.
Even though it's an HBCU football game, the events that lead up to them are multicultural. So
Yeah.
anybody and everybody's there. Everybody enjoys the entertainment. It's a blessing for our city. I don't see it going backwards. I just see it getting better.
Well, I know for a fact I've got some friends that are both, member of both races, and they were right down there for the Isley brothers. It did
Okay.
not make any difference. It was for HBCU. They were there and
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
I agree too. I went early. My family and I were down for the tailgating, and I have to tell you that everybody in Mobile was there. If they were not, and I have to say that South Alabama played on the same day, and they've had a great season, and they're becoming an attraction for our city too.
Yes, they are.
But everybody that wasn't at South, no matter what they look like, were out at the doggone Jackson State
Exactly.
game at Last Stadium.
Sure.
So it was a tremendous weekend for the city.
Well, I've got to say this. I've got to ask this. If you're talking about Jackson State, you've got to make some kind of comment or whatever about Coach Prime.
Well, there's a lot of comments I can make. I met Dion when he wasn't prime. He was Dion in Tallahassee back in the mid to late '80s when he was playing at Florida State. He would come over to FAMU and chase around, talk around a little bit,
Yeah.
But I came in later, so I was on the tail end of him being there.
Yeah.
But for what he's done for Jackson State over the last 3 years, I'd say he's done a great job.
Yeah.
My concern would be was his great job a detriment to the culture of HBCU football, but in essence, he's done so much to support it, it's hard to weigh one for the other.
Yeah.
He's done so much good. In essence, you want the good to stay,
Yeah.
but when the opportunity arises for any man and his family and the benefit of himself to better himself,
Yeah.
most men are going to go on to be better than where they are right now. So you
Exactly.
can't fault him for leaving.
No.
Can't fault him at all.
Uh,
But I can say he's done a great job to bring the attention to
yeah.
HBCU football in our culture again,
Mhm.
because our culture is just as strong. Eddie Robinson once said
Yeah.
years ago, and he was talking about the advent of television into the HBCU market or into the football market only, and he was afraid that the predominant schools would drown the smaller schools because of the use of television,
Yeah.
and more people would go there and revenues would fly to them. In essence, it's done some of that.
Yes.
But with Dion bringing so much attention back to the HBCU culture, we've had an opportunity to get even more television spots this time. That's why I said, so what if ESPN came in the last stadium and everybody had to get out of the media booth, and some people had both Alabama A&M and Jackson State had to get on one side of the radio tower or the other. It's for the betterment of the culture, it's for the betterment of the schools, and it brought wonders to the city of Mobile. Even though the game was tape delayed, Mobile was still also in the highlight, and you can't buy that type of media attention. That's a free gift for our city, a free gift for our stadium. So things happen, but he's done a great job, and I wish him well. And we'll have to see what he does up there. I don't know what they call those Colorado guys, but man, and that's the Pac-12, so they don't play on our TV stations. So we'll just have to see what happens. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. But we wish him
we
well.
wish him
We will.
we wish him
I
all
don't
the
imagine.
success.
I don't imagine he will go up there and be quiet. He will not
Well,
be the church mouse. You know.
yeah, and look at it this way. In our community, we as black men, we hold up so many different things. Look at all the things he was propping up and holding up
Yeah.
while he was there.
Yeah.
So, to say that he did a bad job and try to cut it, then you destroy everybody else that he was holding up too.
Exactly.
So he's done a great job.
Yeah.
Now we need others to come in and help hold up what he started.
Okay.
There's a footprint and there's a format that he's used, especially using I would say his stardom,
Yeah.
and his ability to attract people industry and to market
Mhm.
to grow the HBCU effect at Jackson State and also some other HBCUs. So I
Yes.
hope that
Yes.
others like him, or someone like him, come behind and continue to use that format, and
Yeah.
let's move all schools forward.
Well, he certainly put the spotlight on the HBCU,
He definitely did that.
which was a good thing. Which
Yes.
was a good thing because they're just as good.
Yeah.
They just have not had the amount of attention that the others have.
And I agree with that so much. Eddie Robinson and Grambling put
Yeah.
hundreds of people into the NFL, probably in my mind more so than any other
Any other.
HBCU. Either them, Jackson State, and Florida A&M probably have the highest concentration of players ever going to the NFL from HBCUs. So it's a rich culture of athletes that have come out of historically black colleges and universities, and they still continue to come out of HBCUs. So it's up to us to promote that and
Yeah.
welcome it and make sure that they all get the same amount and level of attention as everyone else does.
And the other thing I want to add before we end this discussion, because you and I can go on and on about this topic alone. But the other thing I want to add is there's also a renewed emphasis now on HBCUs,
Oh God, yes.
which I think is just fantastic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, whenever, look, the average attendance when I was in school of a game, when we played, our stadium only held about 30,000. Our larger games were when we played classics, but our average attendance at home games was a little bit less than 30,000 people.
Yeah.
And when I look at Jackson State now pushing 51,000, 60,000 people at a home game, that
Yeah.
means that the interest and excitement has really come back.
It has.
When Jackson Jackson State plays FAMU in Miami. In our first year, we had a 70,000 crowd. So unfortunately, this year's crowd didn't turn out like that. But it means that, hey, the excitement's here. When Georgia, when Grambling plays Southern in New Orleans, and there's 80,000 people there, there's excitement in the air, and I look forward to going forward with this excitement about HBCU football, and knowing that we have athletes that get the same quality attention and viewership when they're playing that they do at other schools. Then maybe we can get some of our own kids to play, at HBCUs again.
Yes, that's true. And get some recruiting, maybe even more recruiting going on. Okay, changing horses just a tad bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about, I know I saw on your latest YouTube that you're trying to push for Medicaid expansion. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, yes, ma'am. Now, this was brought about, Scott Jones has really been avid about mental health, and avid about the amount of monies the 310 boards were splitting out to other agencies, and also how the union between the 310 board and Alta Point, and how all of that worked. Now, during our 2.5-hour committee meeting that we held with members from the state board, the state mental health, the 310 board, Alta Point, and the city council, we found out one important thing, that there are gaps in the mental health care. And sometimes when someone goes to ask for help, there's not a program that will provide care to that individual, and that commits to the system. So the question is how do we correct that? And the answer came back is with additional funding. So how do we get additional funding? The answer to that came back, from everyone else, is that we have to expand Medicare or Medicaid. Now, the way we expand Medicare, Medicaid is through the state legislature and the governor, and going through that process. So, in my response to that, I asked a few people from the state mental health board, from the 310 board, Scott Johns, to join us, the Mobile County public health director, and a couple of people from Alta Point, to join in, and let's form a group along with some of our legislators and leaders that are doing this, and let's put a team together and say, this is what we need in Mobile. I mean, we need additional funds for mental health and for those aspects that slip through the crack. But we also need additional help for all types of medical issues. I may be one of those people that view things differently. Now, I'm not a socialist, I'm not a communist, I'm not anybody like that. But I believe that health care is a right. Everybody has a right to health care. And in the United States, things are kind of, different, because our healthcare system is charged by our capitalism sometimes. So sometimes people don't have enough money to get the adequate health care they need. But I think that if you're sick, and you're very sick, somebody should be able to help you. So by expanding Medicare aid, we'll have a way to help everyone. And I think that we should do that. I'm going to ask the council, and I have that support, so on the meeting, to do a resolution from the city of Mobile saying that the city of Mobile stands behind the expansion of Medicare and Medicaid for the state of Alabama. And I'm going to start asking mayors from around the state to do the same with their cities, because without all of us speaking on behalf of the state, saying that we see this in our constituency base, then I don't think we can do it. But if the mayor says that's one voice, we can convince our legislators, and our governor to help us move this forward, so that everyone can have a chance to have health care in our state.
I think that's wonderful. Here's one of the things I want to mention. I am a Alabama silver-haired legislator, and we go up once a year to Montgomery, and we work about 4 days a week, and we work on resolutions that are tied specifically to senior citizens. Okay, we have, for the last 8 years. Well, not 8 years because we've had COVID in that for 2 or 3 years. We were stayed away for 3 years. So maybe the last 6 or 7 years. We end up voting on the top 10 resolutions. Every year, expanding Medicaid has been our number one priority because we're dealing with issues that impact seniors.
Hmm.
So, of course, expanding the healthcare field would directly impact seniors, probably more so than some of the others. But we have asked for it every year.
Well, and I'm glad you've done that, but expanding it just doesn't help the seniors. It helps everyone
It does.
when you think about it.
It does.
You know, it's this way, but sometimes the other side of the picture of this, some for the last 5 years that I've seen, some people have hid behind the fact that they've only wanted to expand the mental health portion of it. But in essence, all of it needs to be
It
expanded.
does.
So we're going to have to really work on mine, one of the number one issue on the legislative agenda.
Yes.
But we have yet to see. The gavel doesn't fall until March. And I think we have a pre-legislative bill session that comes up when they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. But we'll find out in March what's happening.
Okay.
And I think that's important that we do. But you got to remember now, even though Medicare, may affects the older age people in this country. Think about this. And again, I said that it hurts people that have a weaker financial base more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I can't think of anywhere else, a country like the United States of America, when there's abundance of resources, people have money, that people are having to mortgage houses, file bankruptcy, sell off everything they have in order to take care of healthcare
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
That is a damaging thing. And I'm screaming out loud that healthcare is bankrupting people. It's taking their homes. It's taking, in some cases, away the American dream that some of these people, and I think we all need about.
And one of the things, because when we're presenting a resolution, when we're in Montgomery, we have to kind of be able to give some stats and
Mhm.
some research and that kind of thing. There has been a number of, I used to know the number, don't know, can't remember it now, but there's a large number of rural hospitals that have had to close down because of not expanding Medicaid. And I promise you, everyone that we have talked to, every politician we've talked to about the possibility of expanding, they give you a canned response. Oh, it's going to cost the state too much money. But all of the research we've looked at has not said anything about necessarily costing the state too much money. I think at one time the state had to put up 10%, and the
Mhm.
federal government was going to put up 90%. Now, I don't know if that's still in place or not.
Well, I haven't seen any of the legislation in the last year or so. I've just started digging into that. And in the 90 days, I'll have a plethora of information to
Right.
to help guide and find some unity between all people involved so that we can move this forward. But when we do, I'll be glad to come back and give you all the facts that I have, because I
Please,
think this is going to be a big
it
topic
will.
for the state of
It
Alabama
will.
in
And
this
maybe
legislative
that
session.
is the route it
Yeah.
needs to go. Maybe it needs to be homegrown and then, eventually head up to the state with it.
Yes, ma'am. The way you fix any problem is to fix it in your home first, your
Yes,
neighbors second, your community third.
that's right.
It'll spread that way. And I
Yeah,
think that if we do that, then we gain some traction this year across the state,
that's
and
true.
hopefully some type of attention will be paid to it.
That's true. Okay, what about our chances now of getting a minority person for District 7? Is that 7?
Yeah, well, yeah, redistricting passed.
Yeah.
We passed with 53% in District 7 of a black, and then a 41% of white. So
Yes.
there's an opportunity for anyone to win out there who so chooses to win to run. Now, they love our current council person out there. She's been out there for a very long time, and granted, there's no need to change. But if in the future, if she's not there, if someone chooses running, everybody out there has an opportunity to make a decision of their choice either way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. We've moved forward with it, and I think the council did a great job in coming to some type of unity on this and getting it done.
Yeah.
We had a lot of help from across the city getting this done, from Stand Up Mobile, the NAACP, the Ministerial Alliance, and so many others that helped actually get this done for us. As like I said, drum kept beating week after week after week after week, and requests that we do something that was reflective of the total population of the city and also the voting age population of the city.
Yeah.
So that's been a big plus for us. We won't see that until 25, but
When
it won't matter.
election.
That's right.
Yeah.
It won't matter if you don't vote.
Exactly.
So we're got to change our voting culture over
Yeah.
the next 3 years too, so that people know, all of this work doesn't matter if we don't go to the polls and vote.
No. As a matter of fact, next week we actually have stand up the two young ladies, Beverly and um, what Amelia.
Amelia
What is it?
Bacon.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. They're going to come on the show and they're going to talk to us overall about those election results. What worked, what didn't work, what do we need to tweak, and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm noticing in our city that our true voting population that we've seen over the last 30 years is changing. We're about to face a generational swing in this city when it comes to voters, especially in our community. If you look at the people who used to lead our community, meaning minority communities,
Yeah.
you see a change,
Okay.
and you're starting to not see it in one spot, but you're starting to see a global swing out there.
In which direction?
Well, towards a younger
Ah,
generation, and I'm hoping that'll happen now. Legislatively, I don't know,
yeah.
but some of our legislators have been in office 30 years. Some of our senators and some of our representatives. We got some younger people out there. I mean, Barbara Drummond's not very old, but she's younger. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Than what's there. She's been doing a tremendous job in the legislature.
Yeah.
So I look, to I don't know what's going to happen, but I see now that there might be a possible swing in our state leadership in the future. I don't know what's going to happen locally here, but we saw a little bit of swing in District 1 with Corey Penn coming into office,
Yeah.
Ben Reynolds coming into office. They're both in their early 30s, early to mid 30s. So,
Yeah.
I see a few things changing here, so uh, as we go forward, our city and the way we think and our thought processes may change a little bit,
Yeah.
but hopefully there will still be that knowledge base that knows the cause of why we are here and the things that we're doing are still there, so that we don't go back and repeat some of the
Exactly.
wrong things that were repeated in the early 80s.
Yeah.
So we still need to have those that are mindful and educated with that information, so that we can move the city forward unified, not to make the same mistakes that we've made in the past.
That's true. And if you take that on the national level, you can see, just talking about one party, but you can see what the Democrats did. When they went back in, they went and selected younger people in leadership roles. And it could very well be, as you were saying, just a trend across the country.
Yeah, I'm I'm not very old myself. See a lot of young people out there that are looking and want to be involved, and I'm trying to involve as many young people as I can right now. I've got a son that's involved. He's 27. I've got a 21-year-old daughter who itching to get involved. I told her she's got to finish college first, and
Yeah.
my 15-year-old daughter, she's out there involved in everything that she can be, as a youthful member, but their friends are also doing the same thing. So this is a little bit different than what I remember.
Yeah.
When we were young, we had the nonpartisan voters league, we had the youth NAACP,
Yeah.
but there's so many other things out there that these young people are doing now. Even from the involvement in local races, as learning how to operate street teams and
Yeah.
GOTV activities. So hopefully that will help us, and hopefully help us mainly with voter registration too,
That's
because
right.
right now they're the most underrated voting populace in the city. They're not voting. Now you've got some that really want to be involved, but
Yeah.
we still don't get the voter turnout. Our voter turnout right now is from 45 to however old you are. So we're
Yeah.
missing that 25 to 35, and then we
Yeah.
still have a gap there. In
Yeah.
our 18 to 25, we're seeing very little response, or we're seeing very little repetitive response from them. We
Yeah.
don't see regular voters and we don't see super voters in that age group. So that's
Hmm.
something that we need to change. And that's when I say change the culture of voting, then we need to change the culture of voting at that point.
Yes. Yes. That's true. That's true. Well, I think I've kind of exhausted my list. Do you have anything in particular you want to mention?
Well, I mean, sure. Well, we've got some mighty big things coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Hmm.
This Tuesday, you will see an ordinance that calls for transparency in the annexation process, and
Okay.
asking for some of the things that the city should already have, some of the things that they've already put in place, but it's calling for it to all be lined up so the community can see it. So they see the same numbers, they see the same maps, they see the same projections that all the people within City Hall are seeing. But they see everything that's going on or everything that the council's been given so that they can also give some feedback to it. That ordinance is also going to ask that we do it in a community meeting form the same way that we did with
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
redistricting. Now that doesn't mean that a council member has to do it. The administration can also reach out and have these meetings and give this information out to the general public. I think it's going to be important that uh, uh, especially people in our communities. When I say our communities, I mean the black community, because so many people in the black community are afraid right now of voter dilution, and they're afraid that if so many people come to the city, then their voice won't be heard. So to do this and to provide an ordinance where they can plainly see what's happening and plainly see what everybody's trying to accomplish, then it unifies the community, it unifies the council, and it does a way to make a solid decision when voting day comes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. We got. I've got some questions here on mine that have come in, and we've got some on our Facebook page.
Okay.
The city's new website, text my gov, text
Yeah.
my gov.
Text my gov, right. We have a process in the city now to where you can respond. I don't have the numbers with me, but if you go to the website, and it'll pop up on the bottom right hand corner of the website, and if you follow the directions where it tells you to text, I forget what it tells you to text to that address. Text it to that address, and you will be given, or you'll be included in any information that goes out from the city through this system. You can also do it with specific council districts. If you get my newsletter, then in my newsletter, it tells you how to get notifications from me as the councilman of District 2 and what's happening in District 2. So that's another powerful resource that we didn't have. Now, the text my gov, in my mind, reaches young demographic because everything is done on cell phone now. Anytime you need something, you have one of the most powerful computers right there in your hand. This information coming to your phone, it gives us a way to get information out quick, to get it to you so that you know what's going on. But in case of disasters and emergencies, it's an even better tool to use. So please go to our website. It'll pop up on the bottom of the screen and just follow those simple directions. Or if you get my newsletter, you can get that information off the newsletter and then follow the instructions for specific things that come from District 2.
Okay. All right. Couple of questions. What happened to the trees on Broad Street near New Jersey?
Oh, okay. The planting of those trees right there was I think it was a line of sight issue. There had been a lot of accidents at the corner, and there were a lot of elderly drivers. So the trees were switched in position. They were taken from those two medians and moved to other locations along Broad Street. I have a request right there. Now, the reason why that median was dug up is because there was a major water leak under the street, and Mobile Air Water and Sewer had to come in and dig it up to fix the water main. So when the water main was fixed and the trees were replanted, being that we had kept having the accidents there because of the line of sight, and the city was petitioned. I shouldn't say petition, but I was requested by the community a problem here, so I had to pull a number of accident reports, what was going on. Then we made the decision to replant the trees in other medians and other places.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. So it actually was a safety reason.
Yes, ma'am.
What do we have there now? Have we
Uh,
put something back?
right, it's a ground cover that'll be there. It'll grow over a period of time. If you go by and look at it, it's really nice. We're gonna add some shrubs, but we gotta, in my mind, I wanted to make sure that the shrub height again wasn't in the line of sight when it comes to turning. I believe it was the right coming out the street there. Is that St. Joe? I can't remember the church that's right there, but
St. Joseph.
right, there were a few issues that grew into potential really dangerous issues. And along with the grocery store grills there, we need to make sure that there wasn't no unintended consequence when it came to public health and safety.
Okay. One question about the shot spotter. You had been told that, first of all, that we needed to call the non-emergency number. Then we found out we're supposed to call
911.
911. Now, help me understand this. The shot spotter, I thought the shot spotter would automatically pick up the location once the gun is fired. That
Well,
doesn't happen.
yes, ma'am. That is how it works. The shot spotter picks up, it turns, it looks, it picks up the location, and it's audible registered so that it can tell the difference between a gunshot and a stick clap.
Yeah.
But like I said, even during the election process, that doesn't stop someone from shooting someone. So we still have to call 911.
Okay.
We still need to report an incident. Shot spotter is registering quite a few shots, but they don't have the 911 backup necessary.
They have.
I don't think so. And
Uh-huh.
ShotSpotter has been doing some great work,
Yeah.
but still yet, if you're in a community and you're hearing gunshots and it's close, pick up the phone and call 911.
Yeah.
Even if we have
Okay.
ShotSpotter out there, ShotSpotter's not in every community in the city.
Yeah.
So still call 911 because you don't necessarily know where it is.
Uh-huh. Did y'all put it in some areas just to kind of pilot the program, or?
Now I can't tell you where Shot Spotter is, Miss
Okay.
Violetta.
You should.
I wouldn't want to do that to you.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Uh, do we know who purchased the apartments on Jefferson at Jefferson?
Yes, I can give you that information, but I can't regurgitate it from memory right now.
Okay.
But we continue to make an effort to make that corner better.
Okay.
And I think over time we're going to continue to get results. The owners have been working with the county board of health and the city and everybody else to put a valiant effort out to keep the facility a little bit better than what it was kept in the past.
Okay. Do you know if it will be the same management team? I mean, the little lady across the street that manages the senior citizen apartments
I
also.
I don't know, Miss
Okay.
Violetta. I can't. I could find out for you, but if I were to tell you yes or no, I wouldn't be
Wouldn't.
actually telling you the truth right
And
now.
I can text you a reminder. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
give us that
Yes, ma'am. You can
information.
do that for
Okay.
me.
All right. Anything else you want to share?
Well, I just ask that everyone pay close attention to everything that's going on right now. There are so many decisions that are being made that affect the future of the city, from uh, marijuana dispensaries in our city
Yes. Yes.
to
Saw
the
that.
civic center to annexation. There are just so many things that have the opportunity to change the way that we live.
Mhm.
You know, Mobile is a great place to live. I personally think that being best city in the state of Alabama, is the way that I would go.
Mhm.
My concentration is to have the best district, then the best city.
Yeah.
I don't always have to have the biggest city by population, But when we are the best city in the state of Alabama, the biggest city in the state of Alabama will follow right behind it because everyone is going to want to be here.
Yeah.
So let's be mindful that as we go forward, then our concentration is to be a unified city, be the best city in the state of Alabama. And as we are unified in the best city in the state of Alabama, I promise you, we will grow.
Okay. Well, we certainly do thank our favorite councilman, Mr. William Carroll. And of course, we always invite him back, usually a month or two, and then he comes in and he gives us all the updates on what's happening with the city of Mobile. So we want to thank you again.
I'm
And of
glad to be
course,
here.
an invitation is always extended. Whether we've contacted you or you've got something you want to get out to the public, then please feel free to let us know so we can put you on. We do appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And we want to thank everyone who's joined us today. This is What Matters Gulf Coast. Good evening.